Good morning, class. Yeah, welcome to today's lesson. I believe you enjoyed last week's class. Today we are continuing from where we ended last week. So today we'll talk about the meaning of elasticity of supply. Then we'll move on to properties of elasticity of supply. Then the categories of elasticity of supply. We'll look at the determination of elasticity of supply, factors affecting elasticity of supply. Then we'll end with managerial application of price elasticity of supply. So to start, what is elasticity of supply? I want to understand. I'm thinking that you understood elasticity of demand we did. So it is very similar to elasticity of demand. So elasticity of supply is the degree of responsiveness of supply to changes in any variable affecting supply. So last week we talked about the variables that affect supply, or the determinants of supply. We talked about the price of the commodity. We talked about price of related commodities. We talked about technology and all other factors, right? So how supply would change in response to the change in any of the variables is elasticity of supply. So let's look at one type of elasticity of supply, which is called the price elasticity of supply. This obviously will be the degree of responsiveness of quantity supplied of a commodity to changes in the price of the commodity in question. Right. So how do we compute price elasticity of supply? As we learned in demand, it follows the same. So there's percentage change in the quantity of supply divided by the percentage change in price, and this is how it's expressed mathematically. The change in quantity supplied all over change in price times original price divided by the original quantity supplied. And explained here, the delta QS means QS2 minus QS1. QS2 is the current price and the QS1 is the original price. Same here. Delta P is P2 minus P1, current price minus previous price or original price, and P is price, QS is quantity supplied, and PES is price elasticity of supply. Now let's look at properties or features of the elasticity of supply. The first is that it not only focuses on the direction of change but also tells magnitude of change in supply. So it doesn't just tell us that, oh, when price increases, quantity supplied will increase, but it tells us by what margin or by what magnitude the quantity supplied will increase. Right. So how much price changes, it tells us how much price changes due to change in how much supply changes due to change in price. So it's a quantitative measure. The second is that elasticity is a unit-free measure. It doesn't have units like Ghana cedis, like four fingers of banana. No, it doesn't have. So when you calculate elasticity of supply, there is no unit attached to it, and that is quite advantageous. It facilitates comparison between two or more goods, two different goods. You can compare them by their elasticity. And the last is that at the intersection of two supply curves, the curve which is flatter is more elastic or have higher elasticity. So the flatter the curve, the higher the elasticity. Great. So elasticity can be categorized into 5 degrees depending on its coefficient. And that is what we want to look at, the categories of supply elasticity, or the categories of elasticity of supply. The first is fairly elastic supply. Fairly elastic supply. When you calculate your elasticity and it is greater than 1, it is considered to be fairly elastic. The second is fairly inelastic supply. If you calculate your elasticity and it's less than 1, you have a fairly inelastic supply. And we also have the unitary elastic supply. If you calculate elasticity and you have exactly 1 or it is equal to 1, then the elasticity is unitary. The next is perfectly inelastic supply. If elasticity is calculated and the answer is 0, then it is perfectly inelastic. And the last one is perfectly elastic supply. If you calculate elasticity and it approaches infinity, or sometimes in some books it's written if it is equal to infinity, you have perfectly elastic supply. So these are the 5 categories or 5 degrees of elasticity of supply. So these are the curves. Let's look at this. You see this one is a bit flat, so this is the fairly elastic supply. This one is steep, it is not that flat, so it is fairly inelastic supply. For this one, the elasticity coefficient will be greater than 1. This one, the elasticity coefficient will be less than 1. Now let's look at this also. This one is gently sloped. It is not too flat, it is not too steep, so that is unitary elastic supply. The elasticity coefficient is equal to 1. Looking at this one is very flat, so it is perfectly elastic. It approaches infinity or is almost equal to infinity, so just a bit less than infinity, right? Then we have this one which is equal to 0. It is vertical. When it's vertical, it is perfectly inelastic supply. Now let's look at the determinants of elasticity of supply. The determination of elasticity of supply. Determination of elasticity of supply. We refer to the formula again, then we will use it to calculate. I'm going to give you an example. We'll calculate it together, then I'll give you another example for you to try on your own. But I will pause here so that we continue the examples in the next slide. Thank you.